So the total numbers that's being projected is absolutely apocalyptic. It's not shocking when you actually think about it, though. The conditions are more ripe for this sort of stuff to live and spread and grow and multiply in the wild. But overall, you have more and more of these sorts of pollutants and all that being put into the environment. I want to give you just a little bit more detail before we discuss. The report is titled "Bracing for Superbugs." It explains how pollution from hospital wastewater, sewage discharged from pharmaceutical production facilities, and runoff from animal and plant agriculture can be rife with not only resistant microorganisms, but also antimicrobials, various pharmaceuticals, microplastics, metals, and other chemicals, which all increase the risk of AMR, antimicrobial resistance in the environment. So the same sorts of issues that we talk about very often about corporations getting away with artificially lowering the cost of their products and services by putting them on to us by polluting is not just affecting the climate, pollution in the air and all that, but also creating an environment that is rife for these sorts of microorganisms to breed and eventually get into and kill a lot of people. What do you think, Jayar?
This is what we got now. We were talking about food shortages in the future, contaminated water, not now, we've seen that already in other smaller levels, but in a broad scale like this is what's next and coming, but we'll keep ignoring it over and over and over again. So obviously, as they pointed out there in that little piece there, regulation and cleanup efforts are the answer. Regulation and cleanup efforts, which cost a whole bunch of money. Think if that makes any sense to the leaders of the world, and we'll center in just in this country, whether or not they're gonna take seriously, whether they need to regulate corporations, water waste, anything that contributes to this, where they're willing to stop with regulation. Never gonna happen. And a matter of fact, I think it was a Fox News anchor or someone pointed out, because they know this is the problem, is it'd be genius if someone got into the water game as far as making sure you have usable water, because it's about to be real scarce, at least the kind that we can use. They know this already. And it goes back to the capitalistic approach to being able to benefit from people's suffering and, of course, widespread death. We saw it with COVID.
Yeah, these are the sorts of issues where we need to take action, and we have a government that is purposefully designed to not be able to address issues like this, filled up with people who don't want there to be the level of regulation that already exists for corporations, let alone enhanced regulations to stop these sorts of things from happening. So we'll proceed forward, we'll continue to pump this stuff into the environment. It'll get tons of people sick, and when it does, they'll stimulate a culture war to make trying to not willingly give the microorganisms to each other some sort of political partisan thing that suddenly Tucker Carlson is doing. Like, I'm doing a preview for 2050 where Tucker Carlson is telling you that you should be actively drinking the sewage-ridden water, because if you don't, you've gone woke. That is the future that we are racing towards. 100%. Anyway, there's a lot more details about this online. I'm sure it's something we'll return to, but just consider that while we're focusing on overall climate change and pollution, there's also a lot of other significant issues like this as well. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.